Hi, I'm Remi Lane, and welcome to the Clean Healthy Living Now Summit. The purpose of the summit is to teach you, my audience, about the various ways we can improve our health naturally. From eliminating toxins in our foods and environments to alternative treatment modalities that assist our bodies in healing naturally. The reason I'm hosting this show is because I've become passionate about becoming healthy and learning to use natural remedies and alternative treatment modalities to treat my own health conditions. I've been on this journey since 2010. That's when my dad was diagnosed with cancer, and I too had my own health issues. I had some hypothyroidism. I had surgery, and those things sent me down a path of really learning about health and what I can do so that, hopefully I won't get cancer. And of course, it's wonderful. My dad healed and everything, and so he's good. But it really was an eye opener for me, as health wise. So that's what put me on this journey and created such a passion in me about it. So today I want to introduce you guys to Philippa Odeval. She is my guest speaker. She is the co-founder of MoonRise.health. She's a yoga teacher, a doula, and a certified Hypopressives instructor. She has worked in health and wellness with kids and women for the last 20 years. She has also written 4 best-selling books in Northern Europe. She's an ardent super healer who loves to try new wellness and healing therapies. She also likes to do red light therapy, and she eats clean food. She's an amazing healer, and that's why I've chosen to have her with us today. She has an amazing natural way for women to heal from pelvic floor dysfunction. So we are going to talk to her today about this and find out more. So welcome, Philippa.
Thank you so much, Remi. I'm really happy to be here.
Wonderful, wonderful. We're happy to have you. It's so nice to learn something new and figure out another way to help our bodies heal. So let's see. What is pelvic floor dysfunction?
Great question. Pelvic floor dysfunction is basically anything in your pelvic floor that limits you in your life. So that can be many different things. We have listed out about 30 symptoms that are connected to pelvic floor dysfunction. And for anyone who does not know where the pelvic floor is, it's the base of our pelvis, which is basically more like a pelvic bowl rather than a floor. It's not completely flat like a floor. It's much more dynamic also than a floor, and very complex. And things like incontinence, pain, low libido, prolapse, these are just a few symptoms of pelvic floor dysfunction, but it's basically when something is not working as it should in your pelvic floor.
Okay. And so are there a lot of women that suffer from this condition that don't even know that they're suffering from it?
Yes, absolutely, because all of these issues, of course, are quite tabooed. So they're not spoken of at all. And many women live completely isolated with the issues and might not even know exactly or understand exactly what has happened because there's so little education around it. About 60% of all women have to face a prolapse, which I can talk more about exactly what it is. During their lifetime, about 50% face incontinence. And probably we don't have exact and accurate statistics around these topics because it's just a big, dark number out there that doesn't get
it doesn't get any attention, does it? Doesn't get any attention. Nobody speaks about it. If you're having those type of issues, you keep it to yourself. Some people don't even tell their doctor.
Exactly. So actually many women that I worked with have told me that I am the first person they are talking to about these issues, which I feel is so sad. You know, they can't even talk to their husband or best friend or anyone like really close, because it's so shameful for many.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything with that area is taboo. It's like, no, don't talk about it. Okay.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of, we need to just kind of step out of that and become women who can communicate with each other and discuss, you know, hey, this is what's going on with me. Have you had this happen? You know, do you know somebody I can talk to, or do you know a healing modality?
Yes.
Yeah. So, how can women heal from this pelvic floor dysfunction naturally and holistically?
Yeah, so this is a very interesting question, and I'm just gonna add into this perspective of what the healthcare system offers. So it's usually like the mildest method is something called Kegels, which many women knows what it is. It's like a pelvic floor squeeze. You squeeze the muscles of the pelvic floor. The sad thing about this is that most pelvic floor dysfunctions stems from tension. And when we do Kegels, we add more tension. So usually for many women, the symptoms become a lot worse. It works for some women, it does, but it's sad to have that as like a universal solution when it causes so much more pain for many. The second thing that the healthcare system offers is a pessary, like a device to keep inside of the vagina to hold everything up, which sometimes create more damage too, actually, in the tissue. And then lastly, they offer a surgery, which is actually something that you have to repeat every 10th or 15th year for many. So once you start like doing one surgery, you have to go and do it again and again. And the sad thing about surgery is that it creates scar tissue. And scar tissue is dysfunctional tissue. So the cells in the tissue cannot get what they need. Cells to thrive and to work properly, cells needs nutrients and clean out. And if they don't get that, which they don't, when scar tissue appears, they kind of grab a bunch of cells and it becomes dense and bloodstream can't reach this area. So it becomes dysfunctional and affects all the other tissue around it and actually creates like a pull in the pelvic floor. So that's why incontinence appears, prolapse, when the vaginal walls kind of come toward the vaginal opening. That's due to the scar tissue pulling and creating all these imbalances. So if we work with this tissue to release the scar tissue, to free the cells, to add that blood circulation and the nutrients that they need and the clean out, then we can heal it naturally. And our programs that we have, they basically build on 3 pillars, which is physical exercise, lifestyle changes, and mind over medicine. And we need to work from all of these angles holistically with the body to make it start to respond to our efforts to heal.
Okay. That's incredible. That is amazing. And it's amazing that you have come up with this. Did you come up with this on your own?
Yes, I did, because I had a prolapse when after giving birth, which is very common. It's also common to have it closer to menopause, and hormonal changes is closely connected to pelvic floor dysfunctions. So when I went to the doctor, they offered a surgery, and I just instinctively felt, no, I will never, like it. I have to be able to solve this, especially when I saw that the success rate is like 25%. And it's so likely to have another symptom, a new symptom after the surgery, or the symptoms becoming worse. So I was just devastated and depressed for quite some time until I realized maybe I can change this on my own. I turned to Dr. Google and I found women who had healed. And that gave me a lot of motivation. And I tried, I think, around 50 methods so far and see, it's really like an experimentation for me. So yeah, and then I realized it's working and I want to help other women do this. So I kind of set up this program that is working so well. And when I see this, it's like, it's just so crazy what the healthcare system offers and not looking into all of these other options that are non-invasive and that actually makes you not only heal pelvic floor dysfunction, but other traumas, like traumas you've been through in your life, other things. So some of our members have stopped taking medications, other medications, like for other reasons, because they, when you truly heal from the inside and from your body's like capability, it's something else and you will thrive. Your whole being will thrive in a different way.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And, and it is sad that our medical system is set up to where the doctors really aren't taught about these things, and they're only interested in, like you said, surgery or handing you pills, to fix stuff. And that's not the way we're designed. Our bodies
not at
are
all.
meant to heal.
And it's not addressing the root cause. So whatever you're trying to fix, something's going to come back sooner or later. So yeah, it is sad.
It is. It's very sad. So besides the physical pain and discomfort of the pelvic floor dysfunction, are there any mental or emotional effects that are brought on by people having this condition?
Absolutely. And quite severe, I would say. I don't know if it's like in combination with this isolated feeling that many have because of the issues being so tabooed and all of that. But what I see always with women I work with is that, they might have a couple of physical symptoms that they want to work with. And of course, they are challenging. But the list of emotional symptoms is usually a lot longer, and they rate those symptoms a lot higher. So it's really an emotional burden for many women. And for myself, I didn't want to live. I had such an amazing life. I love my husband and my kids and have a beautiful life. So it was such a paradox for me. I had this beautiful life, but I really had this feeling that, I can't live like this. I don't even want to leave my bed, because as soon as I stand up, I feel that heaviness and chafing when I was walking. Every step I took, like being aware of your pelvic floor in this way is just so draining. It's torture. You can't be present with anything else. So yes, it's something really important you are bringing up here, and we need to address that too, to heal. And once we start to, for many women, actually, the emotional symptoms are the ones decreasing first, and then they see the physical effects of that.
Wow, that's great. And it is good for our audience to hear this, because some of our audience probably is suffering and don't even know why they're suffering and don't even have a clue, because the doctors are just like, oh yeah, do your Kegels, and like you said, the Kegels are causing them more pain. So they're like, what is wrong with me? So I'm inspired that there's probably people who are going to be listening to our interview who are like, oh my gosh, that's what I'm feeling. That's what I'm having. There is a condition. This is a thing, because how many times have you talked to people who, they had symptoms and they were disconnected. They're like, well, I have this symptom, and I have that symptom, and I have this other symptom. And then you're able to go, oh, all those symptoms together represent this type of problem or this type of issue. And people, don't even realize it.
Yeah, yes, that happens a lot. Really, we're so unaware of this body part, and we're usually not that connected to it either. Mm-hmm. And also, it's a lot of normalizing out there. So wearing a pad when you go out for a run or you jump on a trampoline with your kids, that's just something you have to do when you've given birth. But that's not true. Like, it's just not true. And I've seen so many examples of women going from suffering and leaking or feeling this heaviness, being aware of their pelvic floor in a very not constructive way, to just living a normal life again. And it's so simple, but you need to dedicate, like you need to have consistency in certain practices. And it's also like learning what I talk about, like the healing language of the body. There's no silver bullet here. If you want to heal pelvic floor dysfunction naturally, I could guide you, but ultimately it's you who know your body best. And maybe, like I tried so many methods. I'm kind of a nerd around this. Maybe that could cause a lot of stress for another woman. And she has to focus on only one thing for a year. So, it's really a balance in between emerging into all the different techniques and methods, to also tune into yourself and be kind. We're so, it's so easy for us to do a lot of things all the time. And especially with pelvic floor dysfunction, you actually have to rest more. Like, that's for sure, because gravity is pulling on your pelvic floor all the time. And it if you have a lot of tension and scar tissue and so on, you need to rest more. You need to lay down like horizontally, and preferably with like a pillow under your bum or your hips to elevate your pelvic floor so that everything can kind of come back into its place. So yeah, it's a balance how to move forward when healing.
Wow, that is amazing. It's something I've never thought of. but yeah, and after you give birth, you're right. People say, oh, that's just what happens after you give birth. Oh yeah, you sneeze, you laugh, you cough. Oh my goodness, and then you're embarrassed, and you're like, oh wow, this is just life. This is just what happens. But what you're saying is, yeah, it's life, but you can change it and you can fix it, because this is not something you have to live with. Your pelvic floor can be strengthened to where you no longer have incontinence. So you don't have to worry about sneezing or coughing or jumping on the trampoline with your kids or whatever. So that's very encouraging, Philippa, very encouraging. So how does the fascia play into this condition and recovering from it?
Yeah, so I love fascia. It's such a fascinating body part of ours that, new science is just coming more and more and more. Mm-hmm. And traditionally, when we've done research on the body, it's like they've cut off the fascia, because they are interested in the muscles and the bones. Like, they want to know more about that. But now we know that the fascia is actually so closely connected to the nervous system. So the nerve endings from the brain goes the nervous system, and out like in the last part of the nervous system, it integrates into the fascia. So the fascia is kind of a part of the nervous system. And this plays a huge role in pelvic floor dysfunction, because the scar tissue will kind of set walls in between the the fascia and the brain and the nervous system in between. So they can't communicate properly. So when we start to free up these cells, it's fascia cells and nerve cells, the communication will start to happen again. So the brain can give a signal to the bladder, for example, that we're not on the toilet yet. We need to, be closed for a little while more. And then when you're on the toilet, you have the control and the ability to release. So the fascia plays a huge part, not only like in the scar tissue part, but really basically communication throughout the body and in between the brain and this whole area.
Fantastic. And of course, in this interview series, we've interviewed Deanna Hansen, so she also talks about the fascia. So some of us are just learning about the fascia and how incredible it is in our bodies, and how much we can be impacted health-wise by our fascia being healthy and the scar tissue being eliminated. So, or broken up, I guess is maybe the proper term, broken up. So yeah, that's incredible. What foods can our audience eat that can boost tissue repair in this area of our bodies?
Yeah, so study-wise, research-wise, they have shown that collagen is a crucial, supplement in a way, or like a crucial nutrient to get into your body when you are healing pelvic floor dysfunctions. And that's basically because when you start to work with the scar tissue and rejuvenating this whole area, we need more of collagen, which is, we have tons of collagen in our bodies. And of course, the collagen will affect other parts of your body too. But when you work with all these other methods that we encourage you to do, if you want to heal pelvic floor dysfunction, collagen will really have like a boosting effect in the healing. And of course, it depends what kind of collagen. And we always talk about clean nutrients. So basically, if you can get it from like bone broth or something like that. Probably you could use powders and supplements, but from my perspective, I feel if we could go back to the basics, always stick to that.
Okay, so it would be ideal to get the collagen through bone broth or your food, basically, clean, healthy food. Okay, that's good to know. Collagen is a big thing people talk about right now, and a lot of people are starting to become more aware that bone broth has been such a traditional thing. Every culture has drank or ate, or however you want to say, bone broth. Every culture's used bone broth, and there's reasons for it. And although we didn't know, it seems like people are just now waking up to like, oh yeah, my grandmother used to do that, or my great grandmother, or whatever. It's something that we all need to go back to the basics on. We need to get away from all the processed food. We need to get away from all the junk food. We need to really go back to all the things that our ancestors were doing, our grandparents, our great grandparents, that they lived long lives and they were healthy and they were in much better shape than we are these days. So
absolutely. Yeah, and I I forgot to mention that chicken skin or fish skin, like you can really find sources of collagen that are already there, like in your food. Just make sure that you eat those parts of the animal.
And people avoid those.
Sorry?
People avoid those. People avoid eating the chicken skin.
Exactly.
And people don't really eat fish skin much.
No, they don't. And same thing, I'm into organ foods, and like I really do believe that eating like the whole animal is the sustainable way, not only for our health, but also for the planet. And we get a lot of, like liver, for example, has a lot of vitamin A, which is also great for repairing tissues. So there are, you know, if you just kind of eat everything on the animal and local foods, like grown locally, you can come such a far way in, and you don't have to reflect so much like what nutrients is in what part. If you want to be on board, you can do it, but just kind of eat whatever your grand or great grandparents maybe ate. You will go away.
Yeah, they had the whole animal. They didn't waste anything. That's it. That's very true. Let's see. So what can our audience do today to strengthen their pelvic floor? Like, what is there an exercise that they could start doing today at home that would just, for women, especially women who are maybe just even suffering with incontinence, that they can do?
Yes, absolutely. So one of my favorite methods that I see over and over again has such a huge impact on women's pelvic floor health is called Hypopressives. It's a breathing technique, and hypo means low and pressives means pressure. So it's low pressure. It's actually the only exercise in the world that does not create pressure down towards the belly and the pelvic floor. All other exercises will have an impact when we, when we lift something or when we jump or when we run, when we move our bodies. Because of gravity, we will always have like a pulling effect in the belly and the pelvic floor. And this is reversing that. So what we do is we create like a vacuum. It's really cool. We create a vacuum in the belly and the pelvic floor, and everything is sucked up and drawn up. So the rib cage, we open up the rib cage and everything kind of pulls back up and in. And it's an amazing feeling, I think, for everyone, not only for like people with pelvic floor dysfunction, because it really gives that feeling of, okay, this is like where all of my organs here should be. And why this method is so powerful is mainly because, you work a lot with posture. And posture and pelvic floor is so deeply connected. And the second thing is you work with the diaphragm and the rib cage to create this opening in the rib cage. So we breathe into the rib cage when we practice. And when we do this opening of the rib cage, we awaken the fascia and the nerve endings in between the diaphragm and the pelvic floor. So like it will slowly start to connect back again, and the brain will start to register where our organs should be. Not only the organs in the pelvic bowl, like the bladder, uterus, and rectum, but also all the organs above, like the stomach and the intestines and so on. So it's really, really cool. And I will offer anyone who's curious to do like a first start of this breathing technique. It's a bit complex to learn, hypopressives, but once you know the technique, you're self-sufficient. You can really, it's kind of easy and feels so good. At least I think so. So the first step is to do a type of breathing that is called lateral breath. And I will give you a link to a video where I guide how to do the lateral breathing. And only lateral breathing can have a really good impact itself. Just the lateral breath on its own can have a really good impact on the pelvic floor too. So that's something that is really easy to just start with at home and doing 10 minutes every day, this lateral breathing. And it's really about getting to know your body from like a different perspective when it comes to breathing and the pelvic floor.
Okay, great. Okay, so that'll be your free offer for the audience then. That is wonderful. And what is your website?
It's MoonRise.health. So MoonRise.health.
.health. Okay, great. Well, it has been absolutely wonderful talking to you today and learning about the pelvic floor and how much it impacts some of the things that we didn't realize. We are suffering from certain conditions, but I didn't realize that the pelvic floor played such a role and that it was possible to heal it. I'm fascinated.
I'm so happy to have been sharing what I know, and and to talk to you. I mean, your work is so important and great. So thank you, Remi.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for participating in our summit today, and for your wealth of knowledge and expertise that you shared with the audience. And I really hope everyone can use the information they've learned today to change their life. And so thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Remi. Thanks.
All right. So this is the completion of our interview with Philippa Odeval. Thank you all for being here, for listening to our program, and we'll catch you in the next interview. Thanks, everyone. Have a beautiful day.